Hey, this is Warren Redlick. I got a lot of pushback on yesterday's video criticizing the Now You Know channel, Zach and Jesse, for their attacks on Tesla service. So I wanted to address that. I'm going to cover some key points. This is going to be a lot quicker. Are you ready? Let's go. My first concern is that people attacked me as if I was too harsh with Zach and Jesse. So I want to show you 3 key moments where I thought they were unduly harsh on Tesla. But here's the first one.
Here's the problem. I don't think that Elon knows he has a problem.
I take that very seriously. The accusation from the Now You Know team, from Zach, I believe I don't even know which one's which. I think that's Zach. From Zach saying that Elon doesn't know there's a problem, as if Elon doesn't know what's going on at Tesla. I've watched Elon Musk speak about Tesla, SpaceX, Boring Company, Neuralink, and every time I see him speak in any context, he very clearly knows in depth what's going on at every one of his companies. The suggestion that Elon doesn't know that there's a service center problem is absolutely ludicrous and offensive. And if you think Elon doesn't know what's going on at his company, then what are you doing? I mean, why are you supporting this company? I'm a big believer in this company in part because I believe in Elon. Are you saying you don't believe in Elon? What the hell are you saying? That is such a ridiculously bold statement to make. And as you're going to see, I'm going to go through the Q3 2021 investor call transcript, and you can see that the Tesla team is extremely aware of what's going on with service centers, and you know that Elon knows about it, and it's just an idiotic thing to say, and I'm not going to pull punches when you're going to say something that ridiculous. This is ridiculous. This is an absolutely ridiculous thing for Zach to say. And he should be embarrassed and he should apologize for making a statement like that about Elon. So I'm not going to pull punches and say, oh, gee, I'm sorry I was harsh with Zach and Jesse. That was a ridiculous statement. And then you've got this one.
People at Tesla that need to hear about this will hear about it and get it fixed. Even if that means some people may need to be fired.
Jesse now makes this reference to the people at Tesla who need to know about it while showing a picture of Elon. He then says that people need to be fired. Okay, this isn't, gosh, we would like it if service improved. This is people need to be fired. This is an extremely harsh statement from Jesse. Zach's not disagreeing with him. So the Now You Know team, number 1, says Elon Musk doesn't know what's going on at his company twice, because he said it in the first clip and they effectively said it again in the second clip I just showed you. And Jesse is saying people need to be fired. Now, they're not talking about firing service techs. They're talking about firing middle, upper management. I don't know who they're talking about firing because they're not specific. This is a really aggressive thing to say, that people need to be fired. And what's really frustrating about it, as I've said in the previous video, is Zach Kirkhorn addressed this issue in the Q3 2021 investor call, and they talk about this like it never happened. People have voted up this question again for the Q4 2021 investor call. They just answered it. What are we doing? I've got a lot of questions I want answered from Tesla. They already answered that question. Let's ask questions. Let's address issues that haven't been answered yet. Let's learn more about what's going on at the company. Let's learn more about Dojo. There's a lot we could learn about that we're not learning about by pushing this question that's been answered again and again and again. And just because you're not happy with the answer or you don't understand the answer is nonsense. This is a moment that Jesse has that I think is, if you're going to be woke, which is what Jesse and Zach and Jesse are woke warriors. Not really warriors, but these guys play a little bit of the woke game. What Jesse says in the next clip, I don't know how you can interpret this as not being offensive. Listen to this clip.
This is not some ruffian guy. He's wearing a suit, for goodness sake. I think he understands what his schedule looks like.
This was a reference to a guy at the service center who had some sort of complaint, wasn't happy with something that was going on. And Jesse says, well, this guy looked like a good guy, and some ruffian would be as if wearing a suit made the guy more credible in making a statement. This is, I'm guessing the guy had white privilege, and what was Jesse trying to say with this point? And don't forget, this isn't off the cuff stuff. Now you know scripts their videos. These guys have I've had people tell me, well, Warren, I like your channel, but Now You Know has high production values. They do. They script their videos. This isn't something that was off the cuff. They planned to say that. What did that mean? Why was this guy more credible? He wasn't some ruffian. Are there a lot of ruffians at Tesla service centers? What is a ruffian? The ruffian was wearing a hoodie. Was it Trayvon Martin that he was talking about? Who was he talking about? Who was the negative character who isn't considered reliable? Now, I personally find it amusing and not offensive, but if you're woke, as Jesse seems to be, you just said something offensive. How do you make that inoffensive? Okay, so those are the three things that I raised that people objected to my tone. And I want to go now in depth into how Zach Kirkhorn and Drew Baglino addressed this and a similar issue in the Q3 call. I'm going to go through it in depth so you can see that they're addressing this issue in ways that people like Zach and Jesse apparently don't understand. They're too self-important and they're too self-absorbed and they're too self-confident to realize when they don't understand something, or they just didn't listen to the Q3 investor call. I don't know. But check this out. So the question was asked about both service and superchargers, and Zach Kirkhorn starts off addressing the surface question, and later we're going to see Drew and Zach address the supercharger question. And the responses, there's some key details in the responses that are similar. That's why I'm covering them both. So Zach says, yes, we saw an increase in service wait times throughout the summer. They saw a bunch of things that happened that were not unique to us. I didn't highlight that part, but there was a return to some sense of normalcy over what's been happening in the world. And it happened more quickly than most people expected. And this led to the number of miles that people are driving increasing. And then also some people that had demand for service in 2020 or early 2021 that customers had put off, just like people put off medical care because they were concerned about something going on in the world that I'm not going to talk about because of YouTube censorship. That with that pent up demand that was held off, the increase in people driving, there was a bit of a catch up, people catching up on the service they hadn't had done because they were afraid to go out. You combine that with people driving more, which increases the demand for service. That has increased demand for service. And at the same time, in the macro environment, larger things that are going on in the economy and the world, logistics, moving parts, sourcing parts has become increasingly more difficult. Again, this is a well-known issue in the world right now, as well as challenges in the labor market. These are problems that every car maker, every company is having. It's not just Tesla. So this kind of simultaneous increase in demand for service with the ability to supply that service has been impacted for the reasons I mentioned. In other words, Tesla faced the same problems in delivering service that they experienced in manufacturing that all the other car companies are experiencing in manufacturing, and other companies in other areas of the economy. So they saw an uptick primarily in Europe and North America in service wait times over the course of the summer. Apparently this wasn't a problem in China. I'm going to show you why as part of this later in this video. And then Zach says, we've been working extremely hard since then to address this, and we've seen our wait times come down. And this is one of the things I got a lot of pushback from people saying it's not better, it's not better, it's not better. Well, look, then you're calling Zach Kirkhorn a liar. Okay, I don't have a better way of saying it than that. Zach Kirkhorn said, we've been working extremely hard since then to address this, and we've seen our wait times come down. It's getting better. So you either believe that Zach Kirkhorn is telling the truth and it's getting better, or you believe that Zach Kirkhorn is a liar, or he doesn't know what's going on in the company. And when Jesse says someone should be fired, well, this is the guy who's saying everything's getting better. Apparently, you think Zach Kirkhorn should be fired. I thought Zach Kirkhorn was spectacular on the Q3 2020 investor call. It made me, and Drew Baglino as well, it made me happier to be a Tesla investor to see the quality and depth of the Tesla team, Lars as well, Martin Vieck as well. There's a lot of great people at Tesla that I'm really pleased with. It's not just Elon, there's a team. Elon is always thanking the Tesla team because it's a team, and people overestimate, not that they overestimate Elon, but they underestimate the rest of the team. So what Zach is saying here is from a regional average perspective, we are seeing improvements there. Not at every location, but from a regional average perspective, we're seeing improvements, and they're working on it. And we're super focused on adding locations. We've grown our physical footprint of service centers by 35%. And people say, well, 35% isn't enough because we're about to double the number of vehicles on the road. If we add 2 million more vehicles in the next year, then increasing service centers 35% isn't enough, but that misses something. And along with that, they've grown their footprint of mobile repair by over 40%. We're adding staffing as quickly as we can in the areas that are most impacted. The places that have the worst wait times, they're trying to increase the number of staff. But the most important point, the best service is no service. I'm wearing the best part is no part t-shirt. I don't think the best service is most service rolls off the tongue as well as the best part is no part. You can buy this at elonbits.com. We've been incredibly focused as a company on the initial quality of our vehicles and reliability of vehicles, and we've seen pretty substantial improvements in those metrics over the long term. This means that if the cars are better coming out of the factory and getting to the customer, then there's less need for service on the newer cars. So if you double the number of cars on the road, but the new cars, the new 50% of that car mix, has half the need for service, or a quarter of the need for service, then the need to increase the number of service centers is not as great as you think, right? You don't need to, if you double the number of cars, but the new cars only need half as much service, then you don't need to double the number of service centers. You don't need to double the number of service that you're able to provide. And the surge that came from people holding off on service is gone. And you're not going to expect the same increase in mileage driven because people have already responded. So the macro trends that you're concerned about are unlikely to repeat themselves. But whatever, Tesla's working extremely hard on this. If you don't think they're working extremely hard on this, which is what Zach said they're doing, if you don't think that they are incredibly focused, which is what Zach said they are, if you don't think they're making improvements, then you think Zach Kirkhorn is a liar and you should want him fired. So when Jesse says someone should be fired, Zach Kirkhorn is the one saying this stuff. Zach Kirkhorn is the CFO or master of coin of Tesla, and this is what he's saying. He's one of the 3 key people at Tesla, according to Tesla's own documents. I don't know who else you want fired, but Zach Kirkhorn says they're making progress and it's getting better, and you're denying that, so you're calling Zach a liar. You're calling Zach Kirkhorn a liar. There's no other way around it. You can talk your way around it as much as you want. You say, well, that's not what I mean. Well, what do you mean? I'm sorry, I got a lot of pushback, particularly on Twitter, also a lot of pushback in YouTube comments. I'm a little angry because I'm telling the truth. Zach Kirkhorn, I believe, is telling the truth. Drew Baglino, you're about to see, I believe Drew is telling the truth. I think we have a great team at Tesla. I think things are getting better. And I think people talking shit about Tesla pisses me off. And people talking shit about me at a certain point, I mean, I find it amusing, but at the same time, it pisses me off. This is obvious stuff and you don't want to accept reality. That's not my fault, but I want to address it. So Drew continues on the supercharger side, because the question Martin Vieca asked was about both. It was a retail investor question about both issues. So Drew says on the supercharger side, average congestion on the network has decreased over the past 18 months. Nonetheless, we're not standing still. We're executing accelerating expansion plans globally. The network has doubled over the last 18 months, and we're planning to triple it over the next 2 years. And they're deploying mobile superchargers, and we're trying to introduce pricing strategies that encourage more off-peak usage. I actually experienced this in South Florida, in Palm Beach County, and I think Broward County as well. Certainly Palm Beach County. There are superchargers in West Palm Beach and on the Florida Turnpike, West Palm Beach also, I think it's called. There's 3 superchargers in that area. And from 10 p.m. to 10 a.m., that 12-hour stretch, I think I got it right. I think it's 10 p.m. to 10 a.m. It's 10 p.m. to 10 a.m. Supercharging is 19 cents a kilowatt hour. From 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., supercharging is 38 cents a kilowatt hour. So if you charge off peak when there are fewer cars there, then there's not that many cars there, and it's easy to get. You don't have to wait in line to get a charge, and it works better. So if they can shift some of the users are price insensitive. Honestly, I'm not that price sensitive to it. If I need a charge, I need a charge. Paying 38 cents a kilowatt hour ends up being less expensive than paying $3.50 a gallon for gasoline anyway. You know, when you need a charge, you need a charge, but some percentage of the usage is where you can choose to shift your usage to off-peak times. And if they can shift some usage to off-peak times, that frees up superchargers at peak times. But there's another detail that's even more important that reflects on what I was just talking about. Zach jumps in after Drew talks about what they're doing in terms of expanding superchargers. The latest iteration of battery packs that can handle fast charge rates in combination with 250 kilowatt charging stations is really important, because the faster you can charge, the more charge sessions you can have on an individual post, on an individual supercharger. In other words, if the average supercharging session takes 20 minutes and you're able to lower that average supercharging session to 15 minutes, then you've significantly increased the number of supercharging sessions you can have at that supercharger. That's what they're doing. And the same thing is true if you introduce vehicles that need less maintenance and need less repair, then you've reduced the demand on the service centers. It's the same thing. Drew goes on, we've made an ongoing roadmap of software improvements, dynamic routing to avoid busy superchargers. When I'm driving and I'm looking at my nav, it will tell me this is where you need to supercharge, and it will actually show me alternatives. And at least they claim it's directing me to the optimal supercharger for, smoothing out demand on the network, sending me to a supercharger that's not crowded. I actually find that's not true. I'm sorry, but in my own experience, I don't see that. I often choose a different supercharger because I think it's a better choice for me. I understand that their software is trying to accomplish that mission, and it may work in some circumstances. And the other possibility, by the way, is that I'm wrong when I choose a different supercharger, and I should trust the software to choose the right supercharger for me. I'm just saying they might be right about that. But they take the real-time busyness of the stations into account when choosing where to navigate people on their road trip, and they're improving the trip planner itself, so it's not too conservative and asking people to charge more than they need to. In other words, if it tells you to charge when you're down to 20%, and instead it says, you know what, we can let you charge at 10%, then you may need fewer charging stops, and that would make your trip quicker. And if the battery technology is good enough that it allows you to go deeper into the battery and charge higher into the battery, then that will make supercharging overall, the supercharging network, more efficient. So these guys are putting a lot of thought into this. So here's the thing. The people at Tesla are making extremely good decisions. They're incredibly focused. They're making great decisions. They're working very hard. And things are improving both in service and in supercharging. My own experience in supercharging is great. My experience in service is better because I haven't needed service. The best service is no service. I think Tesla team is doing a great job. I recognize there are problems. I recognize there are people. There are individual stories that are not great. One guy is telling me he's waited a really long time for a part. Yes, that's going to happen. That's going to happen to any company. What we don't know, what we can't know, is what percentage of Tesla customers are experiencing these really bad service delays. And if you're that customer, you think, wow, everyone's having this problem. And I'm at the service center, and these other people at the service center are having this problem. If you're at one of the service centers that has a particularly bad problem, then yeah. But overall, Tesla customer satisfaction is higher than any other car company. So, what are you comparing it to? You're comparing it to other companies. Tesla is doing better than other companies at service, and you're talking like Tesla has the worst service. And you're trashing Tesla, and I get mad when people trash Tesla. You see a team that's working really hard. You see a company that is delivering great products and great service by comparison to their competitors, right? I'm not saying they're delivering the best service that's imaginable. I'm not saying, Zach apparently wants to go to a service center and there's no one else there and he's the first one in line every time. That's not really optimal for a business to work that way. Most businesses that have no other customers are going to go out of business. I'm sorry, it's harsh. That's the way it's got to be. You're not going to generally speaking, you can't run service centers to where people show up and they have a clear slate of appointments every day. And whenever you have a problem, you can just go in. Unfortunately, that's the way the world of service is going to have to work. And I'm sorry, it's not great. We don't have to love it. But Tesla is facing an extremely challenging environment in many different ways. They're trying to grow delivery of vehicles. And another thing, people are waiting for service. Other people are waiting for their cars. And in other words, people have ordered a new car and they're waiting, and their wait times are longer. Is it more important for Tesla to prioritize service for people who have existing cars, or delivery of cars to people who are waiting for their orders? I don't know the right answer to that question. But if one person's waiting 5 weeks for a part and another person's waiting 5 months for their car, I think waiting 5 months for a car is worse than waiting 5 weeks for a part. I can understand when you're the guy waiting for the part, waiting 5 weeks for the part is more important than the guy waiting 5 months for his car. But overall, as a company, that's a decision that has to be made. And I don't feel qualified to make that decision for Tesla. I feel comfortable knowing that Elon Musk, Drew Baglino, and Zach Kirkhorn, and Lars, and the rest of the Tesla team are making those decisions because I'm very impressed with them as a company. And I want to see them making those decisions, not YouTubers like me and Zach and Jesse. And not whiners. Not whiners on Twitter and not whiners in the YouTube comments. I think Tesla team is doing a great job. I'm really pleased with everything they're doing. I had a bad experience with Solar Roof, and I wasn't happy about it. I do think that customer service could be better, particularly responding to customer inquiries instead of ignoring them. I think things like that absolutely happen, and Tesla should do better. But it's a challenging labor market, and if you fire a person you think didn't do a good job at that, you got to hire somebody else in a labor market where there aren't a lot of people. When you manage a business and you have to make these decisions, I've had to fire people and hire new people in my law firm. It's actually easy to fire someone, but it's really hard to hire their replacement. And you have to make decisions, and you have to look at that employee overall and say, okay, he did a bad job on this one, but is he doing a good job overall? It's really hard to figure out how to establish performance metrics and figure these things out. But I have more confidence in Tesla's team making these decisions than I do in other car companies making these decisions, or than I have in Zach and Jesse, or even me making those decisions. I think they're doing a great job. I want to see them keep doing it. I don't want anyone fired. I don't want somebody who makes some bizarre remark about ruffians involved in the decision making. I don't think Tesla needs a PR team, as Zach and Jesse apparently have been saying for a while. Tesla's doing a great job. I'm really excited about the future. I can't wait for the Q3 earnings call. Let's go. Thank you so much for watching. T-shirts at elonbits.com.